when you're going through perimenopause and your estrogen levels are going up and down and they're being depleted, then what happens? You're lacking sleep. And it barges in with belly fat, joint aches, gut issues, burnout, low mood, low energy. And so we've actually seen a spike in perimenopausal women being given medication for SSRs, something that they never struggled with before. Like, I know I was doing the right things. How can insulin be off? You probably know someone who's in their 60s, 70s, maybe even their 50s, who's getting a hip replacement, a joint replacement. It's not late. Girl, you're just getting started. I can assure you of that. You're just getting started. So the first thing we're going to do is...
Hi, I'm your host, Roseanne Kamau, a certified nutrition coach with a background in psychology. Here on Hey Sugar Podcast, you will learn how to live a healthy and sustainable lifestyle without dieting. I'll be teaching you practical tips that you can incorporate in your unique lifestyle. I am going to help you break any dieting mindset traps and show you that a healthy and sustainable lifestyle is doable. So if you're ready to change your life for good and create a healthy and sustainable lifestyle for yourself, then this is for you. Let's go.
If you're 35 and above and your body has begun showing you symptoms that it never had before, and yet you are eating exactly the same way you ate in your 20s and early 30s, and your body continues to change or is shifting, this episode is for you. Because when I tell you, I wore my dress, I looked in the mirror, I sat down and I cried. I cried not because I hated my body, but I cried because I could not recognize the shifts that were happening within my body. I cried because I could not recognize the woman that was looking back at me, and yet I was doing everything right. I was exercising, I was eating well, I was doing everything that we are told to do, but my body changed and it shifted. If that's been your story, then this episode is for you. Because what I want you to know is that perimenopause, this does not knock in, it does not knock the door gently, it literally barges in. And it barges in with belly fat, joint aches, gut issues, burnout, low mood, low energy. I am going to put a list of all the different symptoms that happen to women when you are perimenopausal, because they are hundreds, and every woman, they are many, almost to the hundreds, I think 100 and something. And every single woman will experience one of these symptoms. Well, not every single woman, at least 70% of the population will experience one of these symptoms if you're 35 and above, and if you're perimenopausal. And for me, once I figured and I understood that I was in the perimenopausal stage, I made a decision. I needed to change, and I needed to change my approach, and I needed to do things differently. For me, this was not an ending. This was simply a wake-up call. Now, this is the thing. Perimenopause literally, like I said, sneaks in. And the thing is, it's such a silent shift that, at least for me, nobody warned me about. And even in the group of girlfriends that I have, there's a lot of them who are clueless and we're not even sure what to do. And because no one told us about it, this is what we are experiencing. Some of us, like, I am still in it because I'm still perimenopausal. So I'm still having those shifts going up and down. But what I'm going to be doing in today's episode is I'm going to be sharing with you the tools, the tips, the strategies that I've been working on, and I have seen a shift. I'm going to be sharing with you my pictures so that you can see the shifts that are happening as things are moving on. And the thing is this, if we do not understand what's happening in our body, how can we then even know what strategies to apply? And that's why I'm here. And so let me tell me, like, you can comment below and just let me know, what symptoms are you experiencing? Maybe lack of sleep. Maybe your belly fat has increased like mine had. Maybe it's poor sleep, which was, for me, that was my first sign. Low energy, low drive. These are things that I've experienced. You're irritable. Anxiety has gone up. Did you know that women who enter perimenopause who've never been on a depressant medication, when they give the symptoms to their doctors, immediately their doctors think, okay, you've got something going on with depression. Let me give you medication. And so we've actually seen a spike in perimenopausal women being given medication for SSRs, something that they never struggled with before. Now, I am not saying if you struggle with depression, not to take medication. But what I am saying is there are some lifestyle tips and strategies that I think you may want to try before you jump into medication. At least that's what I did, because I experienced those things. And obviously, the common ones, hot flashes and period pain. And you know the worst part of all this is most of us tend to blame ourselves. We're like, is it me? Do I need to diet harder? Do I need to exercise more? Do I need to beat myself to submission, going to the gym and running endlessly? Do I need to cut out more food? Which diet do I need to go to? That's the first thing that a lot of us women think, and we even do. And when we do this, our body is not changing. Truly, nothing is shifting. And what I want us to do now is to begin to rethink this season. Rethink how you're going to approach this. Rethink your belly fat. Rethink the fat overall. Begin to shift the way you're thinking. And when you do this, this is what is going to help you. Instead of you panicking, instead of punishing yourself, what I want you to do is to begin to ask educated questions. What's happening? What's shifting? What do I need to know? What's my body telling me? And can we decide to partner with our bodies and work with our bodies and not work against it? You know, when I'm coaching my clients, one of the things that I tell them to do on a regular basis is to truly investigate what's going on. And so even in this season of perimenopause, I strongly encourage you to begin to put on that eye and begin to investigate and ask yourself, what are the things that you would need to begin to check and understand as to what's happening from your body, in your body? Now, the first thing is to understand that our hormones are changing and our hormones are shifting. And this is the thing. Every single woman is going to go through this stage. And so the best thing that I want you to do is to accept it. Accept this stage. You will not bypass this stage. And the sooner and the quicker you accept that you're here, the better it's going to be for you to work with your body. There's a misconception that I've also heard a lot of women make. And this is, I'm growing old. Listen, y'all, let me tell you something. I see 70-year-olds and I'm like, they're young. 80-year-olds who are running, I'm like, they are young. It's so important to begin to reframe. So essentially what I'm saying is I'm very young. Okay? If you didn't catch that on, your girl's really young. Because we gotta learn to reframe. You know, even growing up, one of the things that our parents' age, they would never say what their ages were. And yet, they'd be praying for a long life. You know, and I've always thought about that. I was like, how are you praying for long life and we don't know how old you are? You know what I mean? Like, isn't there a disconnect? And so for me, it's this whole aspect of just being proud of your age. And aging gracefully is a gift from God. Because with age, you now have wisdom. With age, you can help those behind you. With age, you can do so much more than you did when you were younger. And so when you begin to reframe it this way, it becomes so much easier for you to understand, fine, the body's changing, I'm in a new season, and what's happening is my hormones are simply shifting. And so we're going to address some of these hormones because I want you to begin to understand what exactly does this look like. So the first hormone that we're going to talk about is cortisol. Cortisol comes from stress. Cortisol is a hormone that is naturally released in your body in the morning, especially when you wake up. It gets released in the morning in your belly, and then it gets released in the morning. And when it gets released, its job is to get your body, it's like it pumps energy for you to get up and get moving. But then at some point, it's supposed to, notice that word I've used, supposed to taper down so that other hormones can come in and to play. But then what happens? If you have high stress, and I want you now to examine your life, high stress at work. If you're middle generation, you're taking care of your kids, you're also taking care of your parents, so you're called the sandwich generation. There's stress, you're being pulled on both sides. Then you're also being pulled by maybe disease that's coming up. Maybe you're dealing with work crisis. Maybe you're traveling from work, so you probably have a high stress job. If you have high stress, it most likely means your body is not resting, and our bodies have this mechanism known as fight or flight. And when cortisol is released, your body is in constant. It's fighting and it's flighting. It's fighting and it's flight. It's like on high alert. And as cortisol is being pumped into your body, guess what's happening? It's simply storing more fat because it's trying to guard your body. And so here, what I want you to do is to simply assess, are you stressed? And you know what causes stress? That slithers in, because this is what slithered in for me without my knowledge. Lack of sleep. Lack of sleep. And did you know that women have the highest rates of Alzheimer's and dementia? Women. This for me makes sense. It makes sense because I want you to think about a woman's life. Especially if you've had kids, you've had stages in your life where you weren't sleeping enough. When you're not sleeping enough, that affects your brain and your brain health. Now, I want you then to imagine in this season, when you're going through perimenopause and your estrogen levels are going up and down and they're being depleted, then what happens? You're lacking sleep. I'm going to post below the episode that I did on sleep because this episode hit a nerve. I wrote an email to our email list. I'm also going to put our email list below if you'd want to be receiving emails from me. And this hit a nerve with our clients because a lot of people said they were not sleeping. And if you're not sleeping, guess what's happening, or guess the message your body is getting? I'm stressed. And if you're stressed, guess what's happening? Cortisol is being released. And what's happening when cortisol is being released? Belly storage. Can you see why it's so important to make those connections and to begin to work on balancing your hormones? That's one. The next hormone we're going to talk about is estrogen. And what happens around this season for women, it just fluctuates. It goes up and down, up and down. And with estrogen fluctuating, this hormone, by the way, is connected to our brain health, our joint health, our gut health. It is connected literally to every single organ in our body. Heart health, and that is why you live and hear some women say they have heart palpitations. So it's important to recognize this is simply a shift and a change that's happening. By the way, is it frustrating? Heck yes. Heck yes. It is not fun. I'm not even going to lie. It's not fun. I don't like this season. I have not liked it. But obviously, I'm sharing the strategies of how to make it easier. Before I had made the connection, and even before things worked, it did take a minute. So when your estrogen is fluctuating, by the way, there's no medical exam that you would need to take that will actually show you whether you're perimenopausal. Right now, in 2025, in May, as we're recording this, essentially, your symptoms are telling you whether you're there or not. And so noticing what your body is telling you is how you're going to know whether you are perimenopausal or not. So with the estrogen fluctuating, by the way, what I'm doing is I'm saving you money. Don't go to your doctor to find out, because I've done that severally until I figured out you really right now, you don't need to know. If you have those symptoms, trust that that's what you have. So with these fluctuations, estrogen, as it's beginning to deplete and it's beginning to go down, classic symptom, boom, right smack in that belly fat, man. In fact, the other day I wore a dress and I was like, guy, this dress is loose, because I've been working out, I've been in strength training. And I'm noticing that dress is fitting like really well. And even in my belly, by the way, it fit well. But when I went to sit down, I was like, aye, what's going on? Because I'm still on the journey. What's going on? And so the thing is, you recognize that these are your hormones that are at play. Then we also have insulin sensitivity. I told you I went to see my doctor in 2021. I believe it was around that time. And when I went to see him, that's when he said, you're most likely perimenopausal because you're not sleeping. He took a couple of tests, and one of the tests that was taken and that was off for me was my insulin. And remember what I told you? I was literally doing everything right. And when he said my insulin was off, I was like, what do you mean my insulin is off? It truly didn't make sense, because truly, I know how I eat. I know how I was moving my body then. Like, I know I was doing the right things. How can insulin be off? Yes, when you enter this season, insulin can be off. You know what else can be off? Your cholesterol number can be off. So it's so important to know those things, that it's about your hormones. This is not a time for you to go harder, to cut more food, start a new diet. This is the time for you to get smart about it. This is the time for you to begin to focus on the lifestyle skills and really begin to focus on the things that are going to give you the edge. When everyone else is struggling, you're getting the edge. Why? Because you're going to focus on sleep. You're going to focus on walking more. You're going to focus on managing your stress. You're going to focus on balancing your meal. You're going to focus on strength training. Those are the 5 things that we're going to focus on. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to eat for hormone support. Eat for hormone support. This is not about perfection, but it's truly ensuring that you have a protein in your meal. You want to make sure you got some vegetables, some legume in your meal. You want to make sure you're minimizing your processed foods. And you want to balance your blood sugar with food like githeri, with cabbage, with avocado. That right there, balanced meal. Why? Because you have your fiber in there, you have your carbohydrates, you've got your protein in there. You can even add some piece of chicken in there. You can add some beef in there to balance your foods out. It's not about doing and or eating different foods, frankly, meaning different foods that you're not used to. That's not the case. You may need to shift how you eat them. You may need to shift the portions for sure. But in terms of your foods, it's in changing. As you're changing with the season, you're changing the way you're eating. And for me, once I started doing this, I definitely noticed that I lowered my cholesterol, my belly started going down, and I did all this without changing the foods that I eat, but eating them better and a lot more better. The next thing is to move more, but you're moving strategically. And the idea here is to focus on strength training. Hi, let me tell you, when we say strength training, there's a lot of folks who'll be like, oh man, I have no access to the gym. Goodness, how am I going to focus on lifting all these weights when I see you, Roseanne, lifting the weights? And this is what I'll tell you. The lifestyle we're living today is completely hijacked by a Western lifestyle. We're sitting down more. We're not walking more. We're not using our legs. Literally, as I'm talking to you right now, I am standing. And why I do this is to help me improve the level of movement that I'm going to get in. Just standing versus sitting down, you're going to burn more calories. Taking the stairs versus standing in an elevator and allowing a machine to take you, you're going to burn more calories. You're going to build more muscle that way. And so what I want you to start to rethink and start thinking about is, in your movement, can you begin to move differently? If you have access to dumbbells or weights or literally anything that you may have, you guys, do you know what I was about to do? I was about to hold a prop here, and I think I just will. Because, and let me tell you, and my girl is behind the scenes. She just looked right up and because she's very particular on how things look. Okay, but let me just explain this. If you're watching if you're in the podcast, you might want to go to my YouTube page, Coach Roseanne, and see this. But what I'm trying to tell you is, things don't need to be hard. You can look for an item in your house, and something like this, you can use to lift it up and down if it's heavy. If you have a water bottle, all I'm doing for those of you who are listening is I have a beautiful flower vase. It's black and silver. I've held it in my arm, and all I'm doing is I want you to imagine a bicep curl. I'm lifting and I'm moving it up, working on that bicep muscle. So that's all I'm doing. And I have returned it to its position so that it better be the right position, because she's very particular. Okay, but strength training is what I want you guys to do and to focus on. Why? The more you build lean muscle mass, muscle is a protective tissue. And muscle is what helps burn you more calories. And a muscle is going to help protect your bones, your skeletal muscle. So you're not losing your hip, you're not getting hip replacement, joint replacement. Have you seen people who've gotten those done as they get older? You probably know someone who's in their 60s, 70s, maybe even their 50s, who's getting a hip replacement, a joint replacement. If you start implementing these strategies now, even if you start in your 50s, in your 60s, this will help you long term. It's better to do something than nothing. And you know what even works best for us? And listen, this one, I just want you to believe, okay? Walk more. Walking is the most underrated form of movement. Walking, walking, walking. Does it do much? Yes. It reminds me of my grandfather. At 97 years old, that man would walk 5 kilometers, Guka John. He would walk 5Ks in the morning and 5K in the evening from his house to Buroti. He would go walk in the morning, walk in the evening, stood tall, strong. And that image has never left me. At 97 years old, a strong man. How many women do you know who are 97, who are strong and able and still have their mental faculties? They were intentional. They truly were intentional in what they ate, in how they moved. And I want that to be you. This is not about a quick fix. This is not about a dress size. This is really about thinking about how do we want to age? You want to be strong. You want to nourish your body with wholesome foods. You want to be able to sleep. You want to be able to manage your stress by creating those boundaries. These are the things as women, as you're getting older, by the way, you slowly begin to find your voice. And the more you find your voice, the more it becomes easier for you to now create the boundaries and live within the values that you want. And so the thing is, walking does not have to be too hard. You can walk in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening. You can have some dedicated time. Call your girlfriends, call your kids, call your spouse, anything, but get moving. Strength training, 3 to 4 times in a week should suffice. I personally work out 4 times in a week, strength train 4 times a week. I go for a dance class once a week, my cardio, and I do a 5K 5 days a week. So in the morning or in the evening, I'll do a quick walk. That's about between 15 minutes to 55 minutes. And that's suffice. That's more than enough. And then on my long days, the one day I don't do strength training, I'll do a long walk. I'll either go to the Karura forest or I'm going to walk in our neighborhood for an hour and a half. So it depends. You don't have to do it exactly like me. But what I want you to do is, can you start on something that you can sustain? If you're not doing something right now, imagine even doing 1 or 2 days of 30 minutes. It is something, and you will see a shift and change in your body. Yes, 2 days a week for 30 minutes. If you're doing nothing, you will see a shift and you'll change. The next thing is we're going to change our mindset. We're going to rethink and reframe the way we think about aging and being perimenopausal. And the way you're going to think about it, it's not late. Girl, you're just getting started. I can assure you of that. You're just getting started. And I'm telling you, and I'll repeat again, you're not old. You're actually, by the way, everybody's getting old. But I know the old that people are thinking about. And in fact, the other day, I was talking with the girls, and I don't know what the conversation was, but we were talking about aging. And they're like, Mom, listen, can I just brag on a little bit? Should I brag on a little bit? Yeah, listen, I'm going. She's like, Mom, my friends don't think you look that old. They don't think you look your age. I was like, what do they think? What do they think? And so they were like, your mom is very young. She's hip. She's da-da-da. I was like, okay, girl, keep bringing it on. But you know what I mean? The whole idea is however, the way you see yourself internally is how it's going to show on the external. And that's one thing I've always said. Your words are powerful. So if you're thinking you're aging, if you're hiding your age, I can assure you, it's showing in your body. And so it's so important for you to truly accept that this season is nothing but a wake-up call. You don't want to shrink. All you need to do is to shift. And so this is what I want to do. I want to give you a free guide. And this free guide is a guide that's going to help you with your hormones. I have attached it below. It's given you a couple of tips that you can begin to implement. And I've used these tips with my clients and I've seen them lose weight from 5 to 10 to 15, even 20 kilos. So if you use this, I promise you, and you begin to show up for yourself, and you stop the dieting, stop the guesswork, and truly start building a strategy that could work for you, because this is going to work, what I've just shared. Just comment below. Let me know if this has been helpful. Download the free PDF that I have for you. Start implementing those tips. Show up for yourself, because I'm telling you, nobody else is going to do this work for you. We may have been sold something, but now that you have heard this information, you now know better. And guess what? You have the power to change and to do things differently. Oh, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. If this has been helpful, put a comment below, share it with a friend, leave a review. Let us know what you think about this episode, and anything you may want to hear, please by all means let me know. And you can always follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is here, Coach Roseanne. And as always, remember, you've got one life, you've got one body, and I want you to treasure it.